Hello everyone, how are we doing on this fine day? Here I'm bringing you a little bit of a Sekiro modding tutorial. See, I really like Sekiro as a game. Unfortunately, I feel like they didn't fully explore all the mechanics. A lot of the late game abilities and weapon art and all that either cost too much or the buffs don't last long enough. And honestly, it's just a little bit disappointing. Probably the biggest offender is the Living Force ability, the ability to put fire on your sword. How awesome is that? Only lasting something like 7 seconds. So with that, I decided to take up a little bit of modding, and I thought I'd share what I've learned because it's really not very difficult. It's just very tedious to get into because you have to look through all these silly little variables without really knowing what's going on. So fear not, I'm here to make this easier for you. After watching this video, you should be able to modify a variety of things. Certainly not everything. Some things are simply above my pay grade. So I'll share what I know, and maybe you can learn more and spread it to others. So before we do anything else, we are going to need the Sekiro mod engine. You can just look it up on the Nexus. I forgot what the latest version is. Whatever it is, just download it. The installation instructions are included, but I'm just gonna go through them for the sake of being thorough. You just copy these two files into your main game file, wherever it is, and then paste them. I already have them, but again, for the sake of completion. Now for the mod engine file, which is one of the two that you put in, you're gonna notice here that it asks for this directory called mods. You can make this whatever you want. This is essentially the folder from which the modded files will be read. Now currently I don't have a mods folder, so I'm going to have to create one. You are going to have to do likewise if you want to do any modding. Even if you are just using other people's mods, you really can't do much without that. So we got the mods folder. We'll be using this a little bit later. Now, the second thing we're gonna do, we need to get access to the file that we'll be modding. There's two ways to do this. I've decided to do it the easier way. You could use a program like the UXM, also available from the Nexus, and just unpack the game executable and extract it that way. But why would we do that when we can just download another mod? I picked the No Tutorials 1.3. And all this really does, by the way, is just make the early game pop-ups about stealth and how to use ninjutsus and perilous attacks and all that just not show up. So if you've played through the game, which I assume you have if you're looking up modding, you really don't need to know that. So all you would do with this mod is just take these two folders. Again, the instructions are available in the README, but we're gonna be thorough. And just navigate to the mods folder which we made and simply paste them. Once you've done that, that's step 2 out of 3. Now comes the actual modding part. So to do that, we are going to need the yapped beta 1.1.2. This version works with Sekiro, and this one is not available on the Nexus, or at least I've put a link in the description. Hopefully it still works. It was working at the time of me recording this. And just download the thing and get it rolling. All you really have to do in the LIB folder, you have to copy this one, this file called 002core6 whatever it is, and you can find it in your game folder. Just right over here, just copy it over to the yapped lib folder. Otherwise you won't be able to mod Sekiro. Once you've done that, we get into the actual meat. This is what we're here for, so let's get started. Ooh, what the hell is all this? Yeah, this is exactly how I felt when I first looked at it. So anyways, there's a lot of files here, but we are only going to look at several of them. So first things first, if you pick, let's pick an easier one. If you're looking at this list, you see it's completely blank. That really sucks. Thankfully, there was a way to fix this. To get some names in here, you want to go to Edit and then Import Names. Click Yes, and then boom. Now, you don't get all of them, you get some. If this does not work for you, then what you might have to do is download a different mod. I'd recommend the Ultimate Sekiro Rebalance. which is actually how from the mod from which I started making my changes. And basically, you're gonna want to open this file, which is what we're gonna mod with Yapt, and then just click Edit, and then Export Names, essentially saving the names, and then you'll import them into the file you're actually going to modify, and just to get the name. So speaking of that file, I suppose I should navigate to it once again. So starting from the mods folder which we created, go to the param file, the game param subfolder, and then this thing. So pretty much almost every mod is going to modify this file, which is why it's not so easy to merge them. You just open it up, and again, if you don't have the names, which I don't have, import, bam, there we go. With the you don't actually have to have them, but given how many lines there are, it would be a pain in the ass to try to figure out what the hell you have to do. So what are some of the changes we want to make? I've got a little cheat sheet over here that I'm going to refer to. Now we've deleted the tutorials, but we want to do more than that. So how about this? How about we want to get more spirit emblems? So this is based on the mod that upgrades your spirit emblem capacity by having every single prosthetic upgrade give you spirit emblems. I think that's a bit too much. I've managed to modify it to affect only a few things. So let's figure out what we need to do. You want to navigate to the skill param file, and here you've got not only the skills, but also a lot of the these are the skills, but these are the prosthetic upgrades. Now, unfortunately, there's no names, and I cannot be fucked to try to figure out which is which. If you are brave enough to do this, basically what you would do, I suppose I should mention, the variable which controls this, how many spirit emblems you are granted, is this one, UNK10. So these are all at 0, right? Everything is at 0 except for the Sculptor's Karma skill that gives 1, Sculptor's Karma Blood, and then of course body and mind, and everything else is 0. That's how I figured out that this variable affects how many spirit emblems you are given by acquiring this ability. And from the mod, I was able to see that these are all the prosthetic upgrades. So like the purple flame, for instance. But again, I cannot possibly be bothered to try to figure out which is which. If you wanted to, basically you would just change one of them, and then you'd have to see which one of them actually gave you the improvement. Again, no way am I doing that. So let's say all you wanted to do is just have these abilities, the Shinobi's Karma and then the Sculptor's Karma, give more emblems. You just change this to, let's say, 3. Right, now one more important thing is after you do this, you have to click away from the window and then save, because if you don't do it in that order, the save won't work. I've wasted quite a lot of time with this trying to figure out why a bunch of my changes didn't work. Yeah, don't make the same mistake I did. So you do that, and then you just click save. Not a big deal. So I'm going to change this back to 1. So with this, you can give yourself a lot more spirit emblems to work with. You can do this with any of the abilities. As you can see, it has pretty much every skill. It even has the you could say passive skills. Like, so you've got the Beast's Karma, which is the one that you get for killing the second bull in the Fountainhead Palace. So, for instance, you could take the Beast's Karma and then all these other karmas, instead of having them give 1, have them give 3. That way Sekiro will end up with 30 spirit emblems instead of 20. So that's probably something I'm going to end up doing in my save. So, yeah, there's that. Now, how about those sugars? You know, I was complaining quite a bit that I think sugars don't last long enough. Well, let's see what we can do about it. We want to navigate over to the SP effect param. And here there is a whole lot of stuff. That is way more than I'm ever going to bother with. But we only need a few of them, thankfully. So here, let's see if I got to scroll up to them. So you even have things like the dowsing powder. And again, all the empty stuff, I don't know what it is. I can't possibly bother to figure it out. There we go. Akko Spiritfall, Ungo Spiritfall, Gokan Spiritfall. This one, I think, is Yashariku's Spirit Fall. And the reason I say this is because of all the ones that are listed, Yashariku's Spirit Fall is the only one that isn't. And the parameters it has are exactly the same as Yashariku's Sugar, specifically the having your HP, having your posture, and increasing your attack in a way that the game says that you do. So I'm almost 100% sure that that's what this is. So anyways, the variable in question is Effect Endurance. This is in seconds, so 30 seconds. All of them are 30 seconds, I believe. All you do is just make it last 60 seconds, whatever you want. Oh, Gaijin Spirit Fall is actually 60 seconds. I wonder why that is. This actually might be a change I made earlier and like forgot about. So that would explain it. I'm not sure why that would. Oh no, actually, maybe they made it last 60 seconds. So they made that one last 60 seconds, but not the other ones. Really weird. So there's other variables you can work with as well. So for Ungo Sugar, you can see, for instance, that it reduces the amount of damage you take by 33%. You can just by looking at a lot of these things. See, like this is another one, dark damage. I don't know what dark damage is, but I suppose if you wanted to make the sugar stronger or weaker, you probably want to find every instance of that 0.67 and change it to, let's say, 0.5 to make it. See, and there's more. I don't even know what these are. And then just have them be, let's say, 0.5, which means you take 50% damage instead of 2/3. And likewise with the Yashariku, for instance, I think the cutting your health in half is far too big of a penalty, considering that you only do 25% more damage, so you could mess around with that. But anyways, what we're here for is the Effect Endurance, which you can have last as long as you wish. Now, in addition to the sugars, we have other fun things, such as the Divine Confetti. Now, I'm not sure why this one, there's 2 entries for this. I don't know why. This one doesn't have a duration, so I don't know what it is, but, and there's another one, so I don't know what this one is, to be perfectly honest, but this is clearly the one that actually works in the game. I know this because I've seen another mod that modifies Divine Confetti, you know, let's make it last an hour or something, and this is the line they work with. So yeah, just make it last however you want. Here it says how much extra damage it does. You've got fire, magic, thunder? I didn't even know you could have thunder. That's kind of awesome. There's one other thing here that I want to cover. Now, there's one strange thing here. The white Miibu buff, pink Miibu buff refers to the Miibu balloons. Strange thing is the actual entry is here, right below. I don't know if this was a mistake, but yeah. 2.5 minutes is how long they last. You can make them last 5 minutes or 10 minutes. Or whatever, and this one is the Miibu pilgrimage balloon, which you get as a quest reward. And there's one other thing I want to show you because it's pretty cool. If only I can find it. Yeah, there's so many things here. There you go. So, Living Force plus Vent, this is what I was talking about earlier. 7.5 seconds is just laughable. So make this last a minute or whatever you want. Pretty awesome. There's a separate entry for the Purple Flame. They made it 20 seconds. I don't know why, but it's kind of nice. And then the Bestowal Ninjutsu, which is exactly what you think it is. It's the art that extends the reach of your sword. Now, if you want to modify the cost, that'll be a separate entry. So we'll cover that shortly. That's all I'm going to talk about in this file. You can experiment. And there's like this stuff here, I'm not even sure what these do. There's a lot to learn, but that's way above my pay grade. Next thing I wanted to show you is how to change the cost in terms of the spirit emblems. So for that, we want to head over to Equip Param Weapon. This has not only skills, but also all of the prosthetics. I'm not sure, there's 2 entries for some of these, which, again, I don't know why. So the variable we want out of all of these, there's a lot going on here, is right at the very bottom, UNK83, let me just confirm, yeah, UNK83, this is the cost in spirit emblems to use one of these. So for instance, a lot of these have 0, but Ashina Cross has 2, Mortal Draw has 3, And what else? With empowered mortal draw is also 3. So by knowing the stats of a lot of these things, you can figure things out for yourself. But yeah, you just change this to whatever you want. I'm probably going to reduce the cost of a lot of these things. You also have the Shinobi tools, including all the upgrades. So you can have different stages of a different tool cost a different amount. Pretty good times. I couldn't tell you what these other ones are, but I've said enough of that. And if you want to do this for ninjutsus and for spirit falls, you want to go to equip param goods, and here you will find the other things. So there we go. Spirit fall. If you actually head down here, oh wait, you don't have that. So this file looks a little bit different. Here for the cost, you're looking at the right here, FB consume. So yeah, this is how many spirit emblems this will cost. So you have the ninjutsu abilities here as well. There you go, Blood Smoke, Puppeteer, and Bestow. You can make them cheaper. I think they should be much cheaper. And yeah, pretty much everything else. Again, most of it I'm not gonna touch. But the Spirit Falls, for instance, you can make them cost less with the FD consume variable. There's one other interesting bit here, and that is the is consume line. Basically, if this is checked, it'll cause the item to be used up, just like pellets, for instance. But if it's not consumed, then it doesn't get used up. So the Spirit Falls, for instance, have infinite usage, right? But they cost well, they cost your spirit emblem. So for instance, if you take something like the Pilgrimage Balloon, you could make it infinite just by unchecking this. You could do the same thing with the Ceremonial Canto, which I think should be infinite given the big cost. And you can do this with pretty much everything else. I don't know what would happen if these weren't consumed. I suspect you could just keep gaining. I don't know. I think having the Gourd Seed not be consumed basically means you could probably get to 10 with just the first Gourd Seed you find. And anyways, there's a whole lot more here. Way more than I could possibly cover. Way more than I even know. Oh yeah, there's one last bit. The max num is how many charges the item has. So the Rise, for instance, has 5 charges. These have, not charges, how many you can hold, I should say. So for these, it's 5. There is one interesting thing here is that you'll notice that the 5-colored rice has 2 entries. This is also true for the Ceremonial Canto. It is also true for the Gourds. So what I've learned is that the first entry, the first instance of it has 5 charges, but it's consumed. Where it is. There you go. 5 charges and is consumed. The second version has 1 charge and is not consumed. So what I think is going on is that when you run out, the second... So it's almost as if you have 2 items. The one that you drink and you use up, and the one that you don't use that allows the first one to be refilled somehow. So I thought if I just unchecked the consume thing, I could have something be unlimited but still have charges the same way as this works. That didn't work. You have to have 2 entries, and I haven't tried doing this, but it would be an interesting experiment to add a line, copy the parameters exactly, and just copy the behavior here. So let's say if you wanted to take the Divine Grass, I don't even know where it is. There you go, Divine Grass, which you can only hold 1 of, I believe. Yeah, 1, and is consumable. If, let's say what you wanted to do is have it so that you can only hold 1, and you know, after you use it, it's gone, but then it refills, I suspect you would have to add a second row. Just, you know, make sure you fill the name and copy the variables exactly. Probably, again, I don't know, because if you look at these, the parameters are similar but not identical. So I am not brave enough to mess with this, but maybe someone a bit more enterprising than me can figure this out. But anyways, that'll do it for this tutorial. So we went over the spirit emblem costs of pretty much everything, and we went over the duration and also, well, gaining Spirit Emblem capacity. So tweak them as you wish. I know I'm going to. Hopefully make better use of these awesome abilities, you know, make those overpowered weapon arts cheaper so you can use them more, make your prosthetic tools cheaper so you can use them more. Anyways, that's enough of me babbling on. I hope you enjoyed, hope you learned a little bit, and yeah, if you figure out some new way to mod something, let me know. Cheers.